Hi again. I am Jackaroo Turu, and on this channel I talk about Australian Aboriginal languages, predominantly the Pama-Nyungan ones. So, in my last video about case, I talked about discontinuous noun phrases. Now, it turns out that there is more to say about this. You see, I read an article by these two, Louagie Verstraete, I know personally. I do not know this woman, Dana. Dana is a female name here in Europe, by the way. It seems that it's a male name in America. That's just wrong. In my opinion, sick and wrong. Anyway, I'm not going to try to pronounce this, which I assume is a French name. They had this article published in Linguistic Typology in 2016, Noun Phrase Constituency in Australian Languages, a typological study. You see, this has been a long-standing discussion within Australianist linguistics. Do Australian languages have noun phrases or not? Noun phrases in the classical sense, where the noun or the pronoun is the head word and it is modified or can be modified by words belonging to other word classes. This is how this is usually described for European languages. Other word classes, or it can also be modified by other nouns or pronouns in the genitive case, taking the genitive case. So anyway, what they do here in this article is that they look at 100 Australian languages, 65 Pama-Nyungan ones, and 35 non-Pama-Nyungan languages. And they look at external parameters and internal parameters, as they call them. So, external parameters, where case marking morphemes are located. So, if they are located in one place and only one place, that implies that the language in question does in fact have noun phrases, is what they write. Diagnostic slots, most famous here, is certain markers that need to occur on the second element in a statement in certain languages. So that would imply that everything that comes before the second element is a phrase. And another external parameter would be prosody, but as they write in the article here, this is not well described in grammars of Australian Aboriginal languages. Probably not well studied either, but definitely not well described. And then there are internal parameters. So, contiguity. So, are the words that would seem to belong or that are expected to belong to the same nominal expression, do they stand next to each other or not? So that is contiguity. Word order. Is word order flexible or rigid? And then they write here in the article that gender and number agreement is sometimes mentioned in discussions about noun phrases in Australian languages, but they say that it is unclear if this can be used to prove that a number of words constitute a noun phrase or not. So they pretty much leave that aside. So concerning contiguous nominal expressions, that is what they call them, by the way, for most of the article, nominal expressions, as long as it is unclear whether they constitute noun phrases or not. So, concerning contiguous nominal expressions, for 16 languages in the sample, there is both internal and external evidence for the existence of noun phrases. For another 49 languages, there is not necessarily external evidence, but there is internal evidence for noun phrases actually existing. So what they find is that we have a cline here from languages that mark that nominal expressions are noun phrases very clearly, to those that perhaps mark a little less clearly. And 28 languages in the sample are found to have completely flexible word order, or at least very flexible word order. And nothing can therefore be said about NP constituency in those languages. Now, when it comes to discontinuous nominal expressions, a few conclusions are drawn. The evidence suggests that about half the languages in our sample allow some kind of discontinuity. Okay. Discontinuous patterns are usually far less frequent than contiguous patterns in languages where they occur. And also, discontinuity is not unconstrained, but appears to show some formal restrictions. These conclusions come primarily from MacGregor's studies of Gooniyandi and Schulze-Berndt and Simard's study of Jamin-Jung. Those are the studies that they lean on primarily here in this article. Now, what we can say about these languages is that they are both non-Pama-Nyungan languages. Evidently, there are no detailed studies for Pama-Nyungan languages, at least not as detailed as the studies for Gooniyandi and Jamin-Jung. So evidently, such studies need to take place. And concerning the discontinuous noun phrases, they write in a footnote that there is only a small set of languages in our sample where we cannot detect any constraints on discontinuity. And they show examples from two languages, both Pama-Nyungan ones, Jaru and Jirbal. Now, and they write that evidently the linguists describing these two languages worked a lot with elicited material. And they write here, one wonders how far such structures are attested beyond elicitation. This is interesting. At first, I thought to myself when I started reading this article, why is the Ngarla language not included? Well, evidently I have not described Ngarla carefully enough in this respect when it comes to noun phrases. And I suppose that makes sense. In my PhD dissertation, I focused primarily on verbs. Initially, I was very interested in studying the complex case marking patterns, but after a while I concluded that I had to start with verbs because the verbs are complicated enough. And the verbs are the core of the clause, that's where the action is, so to speak. And so I focused on verbs. And after that, it is a fact that I haven't described nominal expressions and or noun phrases in as much detail as I perhaps would have liked. So perhaps this is something I should try to accomplish at one point or another. In my dissertation, I looked mostly at elicited material. And we have a lot of discontinuous nominal expressions in the elicited material. That is a fact. But one could also look at what is going on in Ngarla songs and Ngarla stories. Yes, I suppose that will have to be a project for later. Anyway, this is all for now, so see you later.